Now then, so I get asked this question so many times. James, please can we have a look at your tools? So I've got them all out on display here to show you. So first off, we have got the 6-inch fire sharpened nicker by Riley, as which all of my other tools are. And I've not even used this yet, but if I was to use it, I would mainly use it for dressing 140mm sawn walling stone, because when you put it on, it's 6-inch, so that's 150, so it'd only be 1/8 when you knocked it in. Then we've got its little sister, the 4-inch Riley nicker, which I tend to use when dressing 100mm stone, 90mm stone, because once again, when you put it on, it's just 1/8. Or if I'm splitting, delving, or riving flagstones. And that also goes for the same with the 3-inch fire sharpened nicker. But then we have a tungsten carbide tipped version, which is when the stone is a lot more tough, harder, coarser. You use this because it's got tungsten brazed into it. And I always say how important it is to keep it sharp. And if you look at that, you can see how razor sharp that is. That is freshly sharpened, because otherwise you don't get that cutting edge and it rounds over. Also, these are perfect if you are nicking and breaking flags or splitting the ends of flagstones. Next up is my 2.5-inch pitching tools, which once again are by Riley and once again are kept razor sharp. And that is for predominantly backing off reclaimed stone. It's designed like that, so when you angle it in to the bed of the stone, if I move over here, and I'll just do this one on the floor to show you. I'll just... If you look how I angle it in, it just helps reducing the bed. Like that. That way, it leaves a nice flush cavity with no protrusion into the bed of the stone. So now we'll head back over and we'll look at the other ones. So we've also got the 3-inch tungsten carbide pitching tool, which is also used for dressing new stone. And we've got a brand new 4-inch, which I've also not used yet. And then we also have the much debated claw tool. If you remember before, I put a post up about this saying, what do you call it? Do you call it a scutch, or do you call it a claw, or do you call it a toothing chisel? And it caused quite a lot of controversy, but from what the toolman told me, it is a claw tool that leaves the scutch finished. And once again, look how sharp I keep the tips. Then we've got our punch chisel, which is used for punching any rounded bits off stone, leaving a nice flat face. And they used to use these back in the day. Obviously back then they'll have been fire sharpened, not tungsten, because I don't believe tungsten came into use until 1920, but I'm not correct, so don't quote me on that. So yeah, like I said, you use that for punching any bulbous bits off walling stone to leave it with a nice flat finish. And then we've got the big hammer. We haven't got the big hammer. We've got the 3.5 pound punch walling hammer. This is one of my older ones, and as you look at it, I've had this for about 8 years, and you can see how I use that part of the hammer more, and that part there, you see how it's rounded off, and that edge is just literally worn away, and you can see how shiny it is. So if you look where my swing's at, I never even connect with that part of the hammer, which is not even remotely touched. And then last but not least, we have the big Mullinger Thor's hammer, or as what we like to call it in the stone industry, the maul, or a scrappling maul. And if you look at that edge there, you can see there how that started to wear away. And I use that in a downward angle to strike like that, to reduce the end of the stone, predominantly for backing off. And then we use the P end for when we put as wedge into stone when we've cut it, and then we bray that on top like that and bray it through. And that weighs 14 pounds. So yeah, it's a big old hammer, is that. big old hammer. So I hope you've enjoyed seeing my display of tools, and I look forward to bringing more style of content like this to you guys.